Today, we're doing something a little different. We are going to decode the recent BPSC District Sports Officer exam paper. But we're not just looking at it as a test. No, we're treating it like a blueprint for what it really takes to succeed right now. So, what if I told you that this one exam paper holds the key? That by looking closely at the questions it asks, we can spot the patterns and understand the kind of strategic thinking that's absolutely essential today. Exactly. Think of this paper less like a test and more like a treasure map. It's showing us exactly what kind of knowledge is valuable right now, and maybe more importantly, how to get ready for the challenges that are coming our way. All right, so what's the first big takeaway from this blueprint? Well, it's that geography is absolutely non-negotiable. The questions make it crystal clear. If you want to understand our world today, your atlas is every bit as important as your history textbook. Let me show you what I mean. The exam asks this question, which seems pretty straightforward, but it's actually incredibly revealing. This is a direct test of how aware you are of what's happening in the world and its geographical context. You can't really understand the conflict if you don't even know the map. And here's the answer. This shows that the exam demands precision. It wasn't about having a vague idea of Eastern Europe. You had to know the exact list of countries. It's a huge signal that specific, factual knowledge is king. And this wasn't just a one-off thing. This pattern kept showing up. Take this question about another critical geopolitical spot, the Strait of Hormuz. These aren't just random places on a map, you know? They are the strategic arteries that affect global trade and politics. The exam is checking if you recognize what makes the world economy tick. And this really shows the level of detail they're looking for. So the correct answer connects the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. But the blueprint shows that to get a great score, you also have to know the difference between this and other key streets, like the Bab el-Mandeb. Being able to tell them apart, that's what separates the good from the great. Now, the blueprint doesn't stop at geography. It also demands a really deep dive into economic history. The exam went deep into how India's economic policy has evolved, which tells you that you can't just know where we are today, you have to know how we got here. Just look at this timeline, which we've pieced together from the exam questions. It tells a whole story about how the nation's priorities have shifted. You can see the focus move from heavy industry to fighting poverty, and then later on to things like social justice and inclusive growth. The exam is testing if you understand that entire narrative. And all of this leads up to that huge policy shift in 2015, the move from the Planning Commission to Niti Aayog. The key takeaway here, the thing the exam was really testing, wasn't just a name change. It was a fundamental shift in philosophy, from a top-down planner to a collaborative think tank. And this is the part you really gotta get. The exam is moving past simple facts. The blueprint is telling us you have to know Niti Aayog's functions, its goals, its real purpose. It's a test of functional knowledge, not just memorized facts. And if you want proof of how deep you need to go, look no further than this number, 13. The exam actually tested whether you knew the difference between Niti Aayog's 13 official objectives and its 7 pillars of governance. Making that subtle distinction, well, that's how you prove you've gone beyond just surface-level reading. All right, so we've covered the global and the national, but the blueprint has another crystal-clear message. All knowledge is local. Especially for a state-level exam like BPSC, the knowledge they expect is incredibly specific, connecting places to their unique history and economic importance. I mean, just look at this breakdown. The exam wasn't asking about Bihar in general terms. Nope. It asked about Bhagalpur and its Tussar silk, Jamui and its gold reserves, Mungar's 1922 Kisan Sabha, and even Motihari's 1928 Youth League. This shows that what's being tested isn't just trivia, it's a deep, granular understanding of local history and economics. Okay, so let's get to our final and maybe the most critical insight from this blueprint. This is where we go beyond just memorizing things. You have to understand the mechanics, the principles, the why behind the facts. Let's take the Indus Water Treaty of 1960. A simpler exam might just ask, when was it signed? But this blueprint asks, how does it work? It's testing your ability to take a big, complex agreement and break it down into its core parts. Understanding this division is absolutely key. Pakistan controls the western rivers, India controls the eastern ones. But the really deep knowledge, the expert-level stuff the exam was looking for, is in that third step. Knowing that India still has very specific, limited rights on those western rivers, that's the kind of nuance they're after. And this need for precision isn't just for international treaties. It applies to civics, too. There was a question on how you remove the Lok Sabha speaker, and just knowing the word majority wasn't gonna cut it. You had to define an effective majority, which is the total strength of the House minus any vacancies. That's the level of constitutional clarity being tested. And that quote right there says it all. Simple majority, absolute majority, special, effective. The blueprint is basically shouting at us that you have to know the difference. Superficial knowledge just isn't enough anymore. The blueprint demands depth and a real grasp of the concepts that shape our government. So, let's put it all together. What's our blueprint for success? The exam gives us 4 new rules of the game. Rule 1, master the map, both global and local. Rule 2, understand how policy evolves, know the why behind the changes. Rule 3, go deep on the fundamentals, get precise with your definitions. And Rule 4, connect the dots between all of it. So there it is. The blueprint gives us a clear path forward. It's about learning more deeply, thinking more critically, and engaging with the world in a much smarter way. The only question left is, now that you have the blueprint, how are you going to build your future? Thanks for watching this explainer.